Alright guys, so the Jeep's drivable, it's moving, but there's a few adjustments I have to make, such as, for the time being, running the stock drive shaft, it obviously doesn't like the new angle that it's at. Anybody that has WJ knows these drive shafts are trash. Front one's getting replaced with one I actually have laying around from a different WJ. That won't be these crappy joints. And the rear one, we have to adjust the pinion angle so that it matches the output angle on the transfer case. That'll allow minimal vibrations. I mean, there still probably will be some because it's an old drive shaft, probably not perfectly balanced. And we have a 6.5 inch lift, and this is meant for stock. This is kind of just for the time being. I mean, the adjustments have to be made and everything. However, we will be getting Adams drive shafts, the same ones I run on my Wrangler. Pretty much best in the business. I'm going to hit them up, and we're going to have to get custom drive shafts made for this Jeep for the time being until the tons are done. Then we're going to have to get a second set of drive shafts made because it's going to be different joints, different lengths, all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to be adjusting the pinion angle on the rear, getting it to match the front. So I'm going to take you guys through the process, show you guys how to adjust pinion angle on your Jeep. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so in this part of the video, I'm going to go over what pinion angle is, kind of explain it all to you, how it works, what you want setup wise. So if you guys already know that, I'll put the timestamp down here. That way you guys can skip to where we're working on the Jeep, adjusting it and everything like that. But for those of you who are kind of new to this or don't understand pinion angle completely, this part of the video is for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So for your pinion angle, that's basically the angle your drive shaft is at on the axle side there. And the way that is adjusted is extending your lower control arms or shortening, or vice versa with the uppers. So basically what you're going to want there is matching angles on the pinion to the transfer case output. Now, U-joints aren't really meant to be in a straight line exactly. They're meant to be at some kind of angle, and you do want to match those angles. You want both sides of the drive shaft to be the exact same angle. I'm going to show you guys how to measure that so you can get your starting point and see what you have to adjust from there when we head out to the Jeep. But for now, we're going to go over all the little details of pinion angle so that way you guys can understand it a little bit better, and you guys understand what we're doing when we're adjusting the Jeep and why we're doing it. So the reason that you want both angles to be set exactly the same is because if one is off from the other one, the drive shaft won't actually rotate normally, and the pinion or the output will be rotating at one solid speed. However, the drive shaft will be rotating in a different speed. So it's just not ideal. And what that does is it transfers into a vibration that you guys will feel, which I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know what I'm talking about. But you're going to want to match both sides of the drive shaft angles. And I'm going to show you guys how to measure that and everything. You are going to need an angle finder. You can get one for like 10 bucks at any auto parts store usually. I went and picked up one for like 20 at Home Depot, but it's a digital one. You guys can use digital or a normal one, doesn't really matter. So if you're setting up your drive shaft that has one U-joint on both sides, you're going to want this angle to be the exact same angle as this angle here. That'll give you minimal driveline vibrations and be the ideal setup. So I'm going to show you guys how to measure the pinion angle and the output angle on the transfer case. That way we can match both these up, adjust as needed, whether we have to rock this forward, back, however we have to do it, to get both angles to be the same. That way everything's set up right, drive shaft isn't vibrating, because right now it's terrible. Now, if you've bought an aftermarket drive shaft with a double cardan on one side, this angle is going to be basically 0, so that way it goes straight up from the axle, and both of your angles here will have to be the same angle, which, I mean, kind of harder to measure and everything like that, but that should set up straight as long as you have this side at 0 and it all goes up perfectly straight. This side should honestly set up right. This is what we're worried about today because this is the setup we have. This setup will be coming in the future when we get our aftermarket drive shafts, but this is what we're going to work with now. So let's head over to the Jeep, we'll measure both sides here, get the degrees, and then we'll adjust it to make them match. So now that we're out of the Jeep, we're going to take our angle finder, and we're going to use this flat piece right here on the back side of the axle. This should be the exact same as your output on the pinion, and we're just going to place this on the axle. We're getting about 8.9 degrees. So what that means is we're going to obviously have to lower the pinion to get that lower because that's way out of spec. I believe 2 to 6 degrees is where you're ideally going to be. Now that we have this measurement though, we'll be able to go ahead and get the measurement off the transfer case and see if it matches up. So let's head up there and I'll show you guys where to measure that from, how to measure it, and we'll see what my Jeep's sitting at. So when you're under the Jeep, you'll see this flat part right here on the transfer case. It's actually the same exact angle coming from this as the output. So what we're going to do is use this to measure it. One thing to notice is there's a little raised part right there. You're going to want to make sure your angle finder's not on that because that'll throw off the measurement. But we're going to go ahead and take this and get it flat on there. It's reading 4.5. So we're going to have to lower this yoke and pinion so we can adjust that angle a little bit. So there's two ways to do that. Either we would shorten the upper control arms, which would pull the top of the diff towards us forward, lowering this angle. Or we can extend the lower control arms. That'll push the bottom of the diff out, which would also bring this angle down. So you can pretty much adjust either of those. I think I'm going to extend the lowers because they're easier to get to, easier to change. So we'll go ahead and pull these down, adjust these, put them back in, and we'll slowly adjust this angle until it matches the 4.5 of the transfer case. Once both of those are the same, the angles on the drive shaft should be exactly the same, which will give us ideally no drive shaft vibration. So we'll test drive it after that and adjust all this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys adjusting the lower control arms. Then we'll remeasure, get them both the same, and take the Jeep for a test drive. All right, guys, so I made a few minor adjustments before test drive just to bring the back axle more towards the car. I didn't want to stretch it too far and drop the drive shaft or something like that because it was super, super close. But after that being done, Jeep drove fine, and that's how you find and set your pinion angle and driveline angles.